تزكية لقلوبنا وتطهيرا لنفوسنا وتعجيلا لفرج سيدنا ومولانا بقية الله الأعظم الحجة بن الحسن المهدي، أرواحنا وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفدا. عطروا مجالسكم بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. السلام عليك سيدي ومولاي يا رسول الله. السلام عليك سيدي ومولاي يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك سيدتي ومولاتي يا زهراء. Dear brothers and sisters, let us go tonight to the holy city of Medina. Let us remember when Lady Zahra alayha salam was murdered in the city of Medina. After her departure, Imam Ali alayhi salam, in the middle of the night, under the darkness of the night, for no one knew where Lady Zahra was buried, only him and few. They say Imam Ali would go and visit Lady Zahra every single night. Dear brothers and sisters, dear brothers and sisters, they say Imam Ali alayhi salam one of those nights was visiting Lady Zahra. When the sleep overtook him, he saw Lady Zahra in the dream. In the vision she came to him and said, Ya Abul Hassan, oh Abul Hassan, every night you come and visit me, every night you come and see me. Abul Hassan, I want you to go back. I want you to go back to the house. I want you to stay in the house. Imam Ali, with the love he had to Lady Zahra, she told him, go back to our daughter Lady Zainab. Go back to the house and see our daughter Lady Zainab. They say Lady Zainab alayha salam in that night, when she woke up, she started looking around in the house. She started looking around for her father Ali. They say when Imam Ali alayhi salam came back to the house, he looked for Lady Zainab. Where was she? They say he found her sitting on the bed of her mother Fatima, crying, shedding the tears for the loss of her mother Fatima, missing her mother Fatima. Imagine now, Imam Ali enters the room. How would he take his daughter Zainab? I am sure the fathers would know when they see their daughters all alone. They're crying. They would hug them. They would show them the comfort. But let us go now to Karbala. Let us go now to the 10th day of Muharram. Let us ask Lady Zainab. Let us ask Lady Zainab. Let us see where Lady Zainab is when she was all alone, when she was gathering the children, when she was protecting the woman, when she was all alone in that battlefield, in that middle of the night, when she was looking for the missing children. How many times she was hoping Imam Ali would come and hug her and give her the comfort of the father. How many times Lady Zainab felt so alone, for no man was with her to take care of the woman and the children. We know Imam Zayn al-Abidin was so sick and ill. That was the miracle that Allah kept him alive from the hands of the oppressors. But Lady Zainab, they say, in the middle of the night, when she wanted to pray, Imam Zayn al-Abidin saw Auntie Zainab praying, sitting down. He looked at her. He said, Amma Zainab, why are you sitting down? She said, Bunay, son, I can't stand on my feet. I am so tired, exhaustion overtook me. Ah, ya Hussein, ah, gharib, ya mazlum, salawat.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. والصلاة والسلام على النبي الهاشمي المدني الأبطحي التهامي والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Dear respected brothers and sisters, the Almighty Allah says in the Holy Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولا تجادلوا أهل الكتاب إلا بالتي هي أحسن ولا تجادلوا أهل الكتاب إلا بالتي هي أحسن إلا الذين ظلموا منهم وقولوا آمنا بالذي أنزل إلينا وأنزل إليكم وقولوا آمنا بالذي أنزل إلينا وأنزل إليكم وإلهنا وإلهكم واحد ونحن له مسلمون. وقولوا آمنا بالذي أنزل إلينا وأنزل إليكم وإلهنا وإلهكم واحد ونحن له مسلمون. ونحن له مسلمون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات. Dear respected brothers and sisters, I want to thank you tonight for making the time out of your busy schedule in the middle of the week to come and commemorate Ahlul Bayt Salamullahi alayhim in their tragedy and join them as we pay condolences. As we live the nights of Muharram, the days of Muharram, as we go with the Imam alayhi salam, step by step, trying to understand and learn from Karbala. In the past few nights, we've been talking about the art of criticism. And we addressed a few things. Amongst them, as an introduction, how is it that we learn? And then we use this to bridge the art of criticism and the value of criticism and the importance of criticism. What I would like to talk about tonight, a few more issues in regards to criticism. And you might ask yourself, why are we spending so many different nights talking about this issue? Dear brothers and sisters, the state of our communities, which reflects the health of the community, you'll find it either we're one hand working on trying to achieve something in common, or we're separate. And when you look at the reason for our separation, you'll find it, the reason of our separation is because the way we communicate to one another. We all love Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. And we all have traditions that are very similar to one another. I don't care where you come from, whether you're a Shia Iraqi, Shia Lebanese, Shia Pakistani, Shia Indian, Shia Yemeni, Shia Saudi. It doesn't matter. The fact is, and sorry if I skipped a few more others, of course Shia American, but if you have this in common, you realize that we leave so many different things aside and we see at what unites us and brings us together. Let me give you an example here. And I want you to think with me. When I look at myself and look at you and look at the cup and look at the podium and look at the microphone and look at this building and look at everything outside, I come to realize there are things that group us together. Sometimes I look and I say, there are buildings. Why do I say buildings? When I say buildings, I mean whatever things that are common amongst a form of existence, we call it buildings. This existence is a body. This body has a certain shape and a certain function, and I define it as such. When I talk about animals, it's a different grouping of an existence that has things in common. Now, all of us, all of existence has something in common. What is that? Existence itself. We all exist. But we take different forms. And the more we look at our divisions and what makes us unique, we come together and realize we as humans have a lot of things in common. Our humanity is number one. Then we divide each other based either on race, nationality, on gender, on different things. The more we look internally, we try to define ourselves as groups. When we say Shia Muslims, if you notice, we are Muslims, we are Shia. At the same time we say we're Shia Muslims, we are Americans. We added a grouping. When I say Shia Muslims though, and when I say specifically Shia, it's important because here there is something rooted in me, in the self that defines my making. I make a decision being a Shia Muslim. I made a wise decision because it's something that has to do with the belief. Yeah, we might be born into it, but we have to learn the principles behind it. And this comes to define our identity, and we define our identity through our uniqueness from others. This is very important. To understand who we are is to understand what makes me as a person unique from others. And the more I take this identity as a Shia Muslim, and the more I try to adhere by it and define myself by it, the more I become unique amongst my peers. And the more rooted and the better the definition it is based on the principles of this definition, because Shi'ism is defined by its principles, it will reflect on my behavior, showing the type of person I am and making me unique. Now, unique, what does it mean? Unique, is it in the way I walk, in the way I dress, in the way I talk, in what? Uniqueness, dear brothers and sisters, first is defined by my relationship between me and Allah. Then, my relationship between me and my community, my peers. And Allah Azza wa Jal, through the Holy Quran and through Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, He defines this individual, the me, the self. He defines a good human being, and you might be really surprised. Our uniqueness is defined by our normalcy. What do I mean by that? The more normal you are, the more unique you are. This kind of sounds maybe a contradiction. Let me define this a little bit further. Allah Azza wa Jal defined us to fit a certain mold. He said, I give you the choice. What differentiates us from everything else is the ability to choose. He says, I give you the choice. But obviously, if he gives me the choice, that means either all the choices are useless or all of them are useful. If all of them are useful, then how do I recognize one over the other? So there must be one of them that is better than the others. Which one is best? That best is the one that fits me as an individual to become a better person. And Allah Azza wa Jal has defined it through the message of the Holy Quran and Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Now when we realize this message, when we look at this message, it defines that Allah wants us to be normal human beings. Meaning what? Meaning that He fits the purpose for which we were created. That's normalcy. Some of us define ourselves in the way we dress our hairs, for example. You see some people, put their hairstyle is a bit, I hope no one here has a strange hairstyle. Let me see first. No, everyone is normal. They put a very strange hairstyle. Why? This defines them. They are defined by what? The way their hairstyle is. Others are defined by the way they dress. Whether it's tight, whether it's completely unacceptable, regardless. They try to define themselves based on their dress code. Others in the way they talk. But let me ask you though. So what I need you to answer yourself, what criteria do you use to define yourself? Don't say, I don't define myself. There's a reality. When you stand up in front of the mirror every single day, there's something inside of you that says, I want to be like this. What is this? Listen, we all stand in front of the mirrors. We all try to look our best. Right or wrong? I don't want to be in La La Land and you guys in different land and talking about different things. When I stand, the mind says, I want me, I'm pointing out me because there's a mirror here. I want me to be the best. Now that best is what? I'm trying to measure. I'm trying to fit a mold. I'm trying to aspire and advance myself to be something. What is that something? Sometimes I know that something, sometimes I have a perception, an idea of that something, but I miss the reality of it completely. This is something important that we need to realize, dear brothers and sisters. So when we look at why is it that we strive so hard when we talk about criticism, when we talk about being critical to each other, when we critique each other, there's a reason. Either we're trying to find the truth, or either we're trying to develop ourselves. The problem is here. When you try to develop yourself, and we're trying to find the truth, you find that there's a conflict. You arrive to something, someone else arrives to something different. Whether it's your family member, whether it's your peer, you have differences of opinion. How do we deal with that? The problem is the way we deal with that. Allah Azza wa Jal says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. You need to change yourself so the community, all of it can change. In order for us to change as a collective presence, we need to start change one person at a time. Now let me tell you, seriously, I want to ask you this. I'm like, it's on my mind. When you come and listen, do you carry some of this message with you home that you think about it, or do you forget it as soon as you leave these doors? What is this to you here? This is really, I see a lot of smiling faces. I'm not sure. Is it good or bad? I'm not positive here. Why do I ask this question? Because this defines how engaged your mind is with the analysis that I present to you. And don't blame it all on me. I know I might be a bad presenter, I might put you to sleep, but if the mind is seeking for the truth, the mind will analyze, will think, will try to process. Are you doing that? I want and I hope. You know what I would love that you benefit from Karbala, from Hussein alayhi salam, to ignite and spark the ability to think and analyze. This is the key. You know why? How do I become infatuated with a person? How do I follow someone that I ask him, take me with you to our akhirah? Why would I give? What's the most important and valuable thing a person has? It's his and her nafs. And here I am giving Hussein my nafs. Why? Because he made me find the value of myself. He defined the value of the I that I have. And if he didn't, there's a problem with how you're reading Karbala. There's a problem in how you're listening to Muharram. Dear brothers and sisters, in reaching and trying to find the truth, we criticize what is in front of us because we're trying to find out. In order to find out, as I said yesterday, it's either I just receive and become a memory bank, and what happens to me if I become a memory bank? Believe me, my religion becomes nothing but a mere culture and tradition. Meaning what? I don't understand it, I just do it. It does not move me from the inside, and as soon as I'm faced with a hardship, I let go of my religion. My religion takes up priority as part of my culture and tradition, part of my community. As soon as I'm picked out and removed from my community, I'm isolated, no one is around to see me, no one that knows me is with me, I wear a different me. Why? Because religion did not go straight to my heart and mind, changing myself. Religion was just a tradition of how I act within my community. As soon as I stepped out, no one is watching me. Let me do whatever I want. Let me go and do whatever I want. No one is watching me. But if religion and the principles of religion has taken over me and completely moved me, and truly I'm engaged with it, dear brothers and sisters, I don't just accept things and say, you know what, I am who I am, and move on. No, I analyze, I think and reflect. And this is in the process of thinking and analyzing. Let's look at how much can we criticize and analyze. I keep on saying criticize and analyze because they're very related to each other. How much can I actually critique? The angels, when they saw, Allah Azza wa Jal presented Adam to them, what did they ask? What did they do? Did they question God criticizing him, or question God trying to explore and find out? They were trying to explore and find out about Adam. They did not criticize and say, why are you creating him? Because this Adam, we know of an Adam that sheds blood and corrupts. That wasn't a critique to Allah. It was exploring the reasons behind that creation. Now, sometimes, dear brothers and sisters, we need to be very careful how we critique and how we try to explore things. Don't just listen and be a parrot. Just because someone else is saying it, you say it. You need to ask yourself the value of what is being said. Why am I criticizing? Why am I critiquing? Why am I asking what I'm asking? And one very important thing, dear brothers and sisters, I need you to realize that the way we question should never be a source for sedition. What's sedition? It's when one question might take a community and divide it up and make it enemy to itself. And you know what's the worst of all seditions? Are the ones that are social based on intellectual. Why? Because they tear apart the entire community and the family itself. Why? Because people want to define their minds by saying, I think this way. It doesn't, if you really believe in an idea, I tell you, no matter who stands before you, you will defend it. Did you hear me on this? If you believe in an idea, no matter who stands before you, you will defend your idea. The idea, the mind has a strange way how it works. Once you think of it, once you believe in it, it starts moving you. It takes you over. You live and die by it. You wake up and sleep with it. It shapes you. It molds you. Have you experienced that? Okay, everyone's looking at me like, no. Honestly, I know a lot of us did not experience that. I know that. It's a reality. That's why I'm talking about it. If I believe everyone is experiencing it, why do I talk about it? Let me give you an example. See, the children are agreeing with me. Have you ever became excited about something? Okay, I got your point. Have you ever became excited about something? Something you want to buy? I'm sure you did. How does it relive those moments? You can't even sleep at night. Why? You're so excited about tomorrow. You know, how am I going to go to the shop, go to the place? Or for example, I always love to bring these examples. When you're about to get engaged, right? Some of the guys like rolling their eyes. You're so excited. Why? She's on your mind. Poor fella. She's on your mind day and night. You're thinking of her. How would it be talking to her? It took you over. Why? There is a feeling, a desire that is moving you. Imagine that desire. Imagine that mover is not a desire, is an idea. Everyone is silent here. When it's a desire, it's different. When we want to buy something, buy a car, when we want to buy a house, we're thinking, we're checking. Sometimes, oh my God, should I do it? Should I not do it? I'm engaged to a point, maybe, okay, I'm confused. Let me take istikhara. Let me check. Let me find out. Should I do it? Should I not do it? I'm thinking about it so much. Give me an idea that you thought about it this much. That idea is linked. Remember in the beginning when I said when you stand in front of the mirror and I say, I want to be this, that idea defines this. When you stand before the mirror in the morning, in the back, in the subconscious, you built an idea. Sometimes the ideas are far from what we say we believe in. We say we believe in God, we say believe in humbleness, we say we believe in giving up this and that and this and that and all of this, but in reality, where's the dollar? Where is the wealth? Let me define myself in this. Let me define myself in that. I act something and I am something else. Completely different. I need to criticize this, to analyze this, to reflect on this. But again, the way I criticize and critique it, dear brothers and sisters, it should start from the self before I start from the outside. Because some criticism divides the community. And today, dear brothers and sisters, Allah Azza wa Jal tells us in the Holy Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَقَاتِلُوهُمْ حَتَّى لَا تَكُونَ فِتْنَةٌ وَيَكُونَ الدِّينُ لِلَّهِ. Fight them till sedition comes to end and the law of God prevails. What does it mean? I want you to have an open mind and heart with me tonight. Nowadays, we face some intellectual ideas being thrown out there. Does that mean we should not entertain other ideas? Of course not. That's not what I'm saying. Does that mean we should not challenge our own ideas? Of course not. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, you should criticize, you should challenge, and you should question, but within that framework of questioning and criticizing. You should be very careful how you ask. You need to ask yourself how you're doing it, the effects of what you ask. Because sedition is worse than killing. And Allah Azza wa Jal says when you question, you need to be very careful. Some of us love to question, especially when it comes to religion. Why do we do this? Why do we believe in this? Why do we believe in that? And you know how they question? They post things on the internet. I see a lot of the young men and women nowadays, there's a forum, there's a blog, they go on it, and they start asking questions. They start criticizing. For example, we love criticizing the ulama, the scholars. We love to criticize our centers. We love to criticize everything. I'm criticizing right now, am I not? Am I saying something and doing something else? No. See, I'm criticizing for the purpose of finding a solution. And I come with a solution in hand. So I present my case in the form of criticism. I am not criticizing just to take you all down. Yeah, I just want to take you people down. No. Your success is mine. Your failure is mine. If anyone in the community today fails, all of us failed. You think if one of the young men or women is caught, God forbid, doing drugs, or caught doing something haram, or put in jail because of stupidity he or she did, or he failed in school, or he or she became a dropout, or they lost a business, or you think they failed? No, we failed. All of us failed. Because at the end of the day, people will look at what defines him or her. And if she's wearing the hijab, they say Muslims failed. If they know you are a Shia, they say Shia failed. Your success is our success. Your failure is our failure. Once you define yourself, and look, our names define us. You walk somewhere, your name is Ali, your name is Hassan, your name is Hussein. Oh my God, if your name is Hussein, watch it. Your name is Hussein, people relate Hussein to Karbala, and now you became a representative. Unknowingly, you must watch what you do and how you do things. Dear brothers and sisters, we find sometimes as a community, whether you like it or not, we are a community. There is a reality. But when we see something wrong, how do we fix it without dividing ourselves? When it comes to issues of intellect, I want you, and religion, I want you to do me a favor. The first thing you do is not to go and start posting things on the internet. The internet, there is no scholar on the internet. The internet is just a place, a platform. There might be someone who knows, there might be someone who doesn't know. Some people seek knowledge in the wrong place, dear brothers and sisters. The first thing when you want to have a discussion about an issue that has to do with your belief and principles, go to a scholar. Now the problem is, let's define what a scholar is. A scholar is not necessarily someone who put the turban on. The scholar is not defined of how many years he lived in Qom or the city of Najaf. There are people who might have lived years and years right by the Hawza, in the Hawza, but they're not scholars. We don't define scholars just because they speak well. Wallah, he's a great speaker. Okay, he's a great speaker. It doesn't mean he's a good scholar. He might speak for 5 hours and know nothing. These are the people that actually got to be aware of. Why? Because when the person speaks on and on and on and on without some content, what is he doing to the minds? You don't know what he's filling the minds with. You need to understand. Know the people. Know who you're listening to. And know who you're asking. Your ideas are what make you and who you are. So, when you first ask, go to the source. Go to the Hawza. Go to the Islamic seminary. You know one of our biggest problems? We're so disconnected from our scholars. At the end of the day, the centers that we have here, all across the nation, dear brothers and sisters, they are centers for a purpose. What is the purpose? Here, mashallah, you see all the programs throughout the year. It's to keep the community together, to keep them engaged with their beliefs and principles but also there's a limit to how much they can offer you. Not every center can take the role of doing everything to the community. A center, its role is defined. But today, in the United States of America, and I want you to hear this challenge from me. In the United States of America, we are faced with some very important challenges. And the most important challenges are the ones that has to do with ideas. The ideas, who addresses the ideas? Do you think the scholar, the person, the imam of the center can take care of the community, can perform the jama'ah prayers, can solve the social issues, can do all this, and also address the intellectual issues that face the nation? Don't put so much weight, so much burden on someone when they cannot bear it. It's not right. We need at this point, and that's why as Shia Muslims, we have a lot of centers, we have a lot of mosques, great. We have very few national organizations that actually address these issues. A national organization is not a local center, is not a local mosque. Let's define the roles of these centers and not ask them more than they can handle. But today in America, and we are living in America, we are facing very top challenges. When we live in America, it means we are expected to sit on the table with other views, with other schools of thought, and address serious issues. The issue of politics and religion. The issue of, for example, the public health. The issue of, let's not stick to the issue of foreign policy. That's the last thing we want to care about right now. But there are issues today that we have to sit down with other schools of thought and address them. Who does this? You and me? This mosque, that center? No. This is why we need specialized institutions. Think tanks. Now when I say think tank, some of you might say, what is that? It is our responsibility. See, today, why are we not so influential that things take place in the Middle East, in Bahrain and other places, and we cannot defend Shias in other countries? Because simply we're weak here. They ask us, what do the Shia want? Do we really know what do they want? We have not spent the time to formalize, to put together the ideas, the thoughts, the presentations. What is it when I go visit this congressman or woman? What is it that I will present to them? And let me tell you here, it is not up to someone who studied political science, or someone who became a lawyer, or someone who is a businessman that decided to do something to make these decisions. Yes, we're Shia. Yes, we're activists. But it is not the role of an activist to shape the future of Shia Islam. It is the role of an activist to push the ideas. But they do not formulate the ideas. Don't fall into this mistake and you mix where you stand. We can be activists, but we also need the intellectuals. The intellectuals are people who are well-rooted, who understand and have the depth of understanding of our religion, of politics, of world politics, of what is happening, of what the Islamic seminary wants, because that is our leadership. And then they put the ideas before the activists, and the activists push for these ideas. It is dangerous that we create activists without ideas that are well put together. You know what this happens? When we create activists, when we create organizations without direction, you will be misled and misleading. Today, mashallah, we have some organizations that are being led. I know of different organizations. They went down to the cities, to the Islamic seminaries. They knocked on the doors of the scholars. They tried to seek help. They tried to seek direction. That is great. It is our responsibility. Here we're defining a relationship. Some of you might not understand this relationship. Some of you are so foreign to this relationship. All you know is just the center and maybe one scholar or another. Expand your horizon. Get to know more. In these following nights, I'm going to challenge some beliefs that we have, and I'm going to move you, whether you like it or not, out of your comfort zone. I want you to be moved out of your comfort zone. Because sometimes we become like so limited by our own limitations that we put on ourselves. I see some people nowadays taking some very high position, and they're making very important decisions. Are they sure they are doing the right, they're taking the right decision? How do you make sure you do that? We need to start creating such institutions here, national institutions that care about these issues, that would lead the Shia mind. The Shia mind. These are institutions that are made of intellectuals from the Hawza and from academia, from the corporate world, from all facets of life. It's not easy. It's not impossible. I'll talk tomorrow about different things in the days to come that I want to challenge you with. Because listen, 10, 15 years, our young men and women should not be talking about this problem again. Should not be facing the same issues we're facing today. If they are, then we failed. We failed them. We failed our 12th holy Imam, and we surely are a community in occultation. We're a community that is so absent from its reality. Why? Because we think we're addressing something, but it's not something serious. To change the future of a community, dear brothers and sisters, we need to realize how to criticize ourselves and how to give these sacrifices that will change our future. How to back one another. How to leave experts to do the experts' job. How to work with those who know what they're doing. How to identify them. And dear brothers and sisters, in these nights and from Karbala, what do we learn? We learn, dear brothers and sisters, how do we sacrifice? We learn how to give for the sake of others gaining. We learn from people like Zainab alayha salam. We learn, dear brothers and sisters, from people like Lady al-Baneen. Lady al-Baneen alayha salam. You know, dear brothers and sisters, when Imam Ali, after Lady Zahra had passed away, dear brothers and sisters, Lady al-Baneen, whose name was Fatima, she was the second wife for Imam Ali after the departure of Lady Zahra. They say al-Baneen, when she was brought to the house of Imam Ali, she stood outside. She knocked on the door. She said, I will not just go in. When Imam Hassan came outside, she told him, Sayyidi, O Master Hassan, I am not here to replace your mother Fatima. I'm merely here to be your servant, Sayyidi. They say al-Baneen alayha salam, dear brothers and sisters, as she was sitting around with the family, suddenly she turns to Imam Ali. She asks him, Sayyidi wa Mawlai Abul Hassan, I ask you to change my name. He looks at her. Change your name? He says, yes, every time you say the word Fatima, look at the faces of these children change, remembering them, their mother, Lady Zahra. Dear brothers and sisters, al-Baneen alayha salam, when Imam Ali wanted to marry her, you know what he asked his brother? He said, go and find me a wife from whom I can give birth to someone strong, to someone courageous. He asked him why. He said so he could serve Imam Hussein in the battle of Karbala. al-Baneen had 4 children. Dear brothers and sisters, al-Baneen alayha salam had 4 children who went with Imam Hussein to the battle of Karbala. The first one was called Ja'far. The second one was called Aun. The third one is called Abdullah. But the fourth, which all of you know, no other than Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. Dear brothers and sisters, we know what happened to them in the battlefield of Karbala. But I want to examine tonight with you. Go to Medina, because al-Baneen did not go with Imam Hussein to Medina. She stayed behind to Karbala. She stayed behind in Medina. They say Lady al-Baneen alayha salam was waiting for the messenger to know what happened to them. You know, al-Baneen alayha salam, throughout her life, who did she care for? She did not care more about Abul Fadl or Aun or Ja'far or Abdullah. Her care was on Imam Hussein alayhi salam. She always taught Al-Abbas alayhi salam, listen, anytime you see Imam Hussein, you go and serve him. You go and help him.
Dear brothers and sisters, they say when the caravan came back from Karbala to Medina, the caravan had sent the messenger. The messenger came into Medina calling out, يا أهل يثرب لا مقام لكم بها. Oh people of Yathrib, you no more can stay in this city. قتل الحسين فأدمعي مدرارا. They say he started announcing, oh people of Yathrib, come together, come close. Everyone saw that this messenger has some news. They asked him, he said, at the grave of Prophet Muhammad. He took them all to the grave of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. Who comes walking to the messenger? This lady, she walks to the messenger and she asks him, oh messenger, you have news from Karbala? He says, yes I do. Who are you? She says, I am al-Banin. I am al-Banin. Now, the messenger knew who she was. He wanted to take the news on her step by step. He tells her, yes, we brought the caravan from Karbala. al-Banin's heart now wants to know what happened. Who does she ask for? She goes, tell me what happened to my son Hussein. Now the messenger wanted to take the news step by step. He said, Ya al-Banin, عظم الله لك الأجر بولدك جعفر. May Allah reward you for your son Ja'far. al-Banin tells him, messenger, did I ask you about Ja'far? I am asking you about my son Hussein. He tells her, عظم الله لك الأجر. May Allah reward you for your son Abdullah. al-Banin, the heart of the mother, tells him, did I ask you about Abdullah? I'm asking you about my beloved Hussein. He says, عظم الله لك الأجر. May Allah reward you for the martyrdom of Aun. She tells him, why are you doing this to me? I'm asking you about my son Hussein. Then the messenger says, Ya al-Banin, عظم الله لك الأجر بمصاب ولدك. May Allah reward you for the martyrdom of your son Abil Fadl al-Abbas. They say al-Banin fell on the ground. And then they tried to pick her up. She told him, Ya Hada, am I asking you about Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas? I'm asking you about my son Hussein. Then he said, عظم الله لك الأجر بأبي عبد الله الحسين. They say al-Banin alayha salam, she called Waladi Hussein, oh son Hussein. At that moment, dear brothers and sisters, after they say the ladies who came from Karbala, they entered the houses and they were mourning those who were killed in the battle of Karbala. And Lady Zainab alayha salam said, no one shall come in unless she has someone who was killed in Karbala. Don't allow anyone in the house unless she has someone killed in Karbala. Suddenly someone is knocking on the door. The helper her, opens the door, and then looking at who's at the door, she rushes to Lady Zainab, calling, Amma Zainab, Amma Zainab, Amma Zainab. Lady Zainab tells her, who's at the door? Why are you rushing? And here Lady Zainab, she sees who at the door. As soon as al-Banin sees Zainab, al-Banin calls, Wa waladah wa Husayna. Oh my son, oh Hussein. What does Zainab reply? Wa akhah wa Abbas. Oh brother, oh Abbas. صاحت صوت she called Imam Hussein. She replied, oh Abbas wa Abbasa wa Husayna wa Husayna wa Husayna wa Husayna wa Husayna. Everyone, wa Husayna wa Husayna. Together, wa louder, wa Husayna wa Husayn wa Husayna wa Husayna. Allahumma bihaqqi Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. We ask you, oh Allah, to accept the little we are offering in these nights, to accept the little we are offering, to forgive us, to guide us to the path bihaqqi Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. And let us offer the blessings of salawat after reciting Surah Al-Fatiha to all the deceased believers after salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Hussein, 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 Hussein. Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. سيد الشهداء إمام الإنس والجنة حسين. سيد الشهداء إمام الإنس والجنة حسين. King of martyrs, oh Imam of man and jinn, Mawla Hussein. King of martyrs, oh Imam of man and jinn, Mawla Hussein. Ya Hussein, 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 سيد الشهداء إمام
الإنس والجن حسين
سيد الشهداء إمام
الإنس والجن حسين
مرحبا يا أبا عبد الله يا أبا أكبر حسين مرحبا يا أبا عبد الله يا أبا أكبر حسين وارث الله دم أبو الأحرار إمامي يا حسين وارث الله دم أبو الأحرار إمامي
يا حسين
Father of infant Abdullah and Ali Akbar Hussein. Father of infant Abdullah and Ali Akbar
Hussein
O inheritor of Adam, father of freedom Hussein. O inheritor of Adam, father of freedom Hussein. Ya Hussein, 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 سيد الشهداء إمام الإنس والجن حسين سيد الشهداء إمام الإنس
والجن حسين
أنك أقمت الصلاة أنك أتيت الزكاة أنك أقمت الصلاة أنك أتيت الزكاة قد أمرت بالمعروف ونهيت المنكرات قد أمرت بالمعروف ونهيت المنكرات You established prayer and gave in charity, Mawla Hussein.
You established prayer and gave in charity, Mawla Hussein.
You enjoined the right, forbade iniquity, Mawla Hussein.
You enjoined the right, forbade iniquity, Mawla Hussein.
Ya Hussein, 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 سيد الشهداء إمام الإنس والجن حسين سيد الشهداء إمام
الإنس والجن حسين
الحسين مني قال وأنا من الحسين الحسين مني قال وأنا من الحسين أنت سيد أهل الجنة والسفينة يا حسين أنت سيد أهل الجنة والسفينة يا حسين Mustafa said, you are from me, I am from you, O Hussein. Mustafa said, you are from me,
I am from you, O Hussein.
Prince of Paradise, you are a sanctuary, my son Hussein. Prince of Paradise, you are a sanctuary, my son Hussein. Ya Hussein, 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 سيد الشهداء إمام الإنس والجن حسين سيد الشهداء إمام الإنس
والجن حسين
مرحبا يا ثار الله خيرة الله مصطفى مرحبا يا ثار الله خيرة الله
مصطفى
أنت نفس المطمئنة أنت مصباح الهدى أنت نفس المطمئنة أنت مصباح
الهدى
Your avenger is Allah, your selector is Allah. Your avenger is Allah,
your selector is Allah.
your contented soul, a lamp of guidance in every era. Your contented soul, a lamp of guidance in every era. Ya Hussein, 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 Sayyid al-Shuhada,
إمام الإنس والجن حسين سيد الشهداء إمام الإنس والجن حسين
سيد الشهداء إمام الإنس والجن حسين السلام عليك يا ابن المصطفى والمرتضى السلام عليك يا ابن المصطفى والمرتضى مرحبا يا ابن الخديجة نور عين الفاطمة مرحبا يا ابن الخديجة
نور عين الفاطمة
Salutations to the son of Mustafa and Murtaza. Salutations to the son of Mustafa and Murtaza. Marhaba, son of Khadija and the heart of Fatima. Marhaba, son of Khadija and the heart of Fatima. Ya Hussein, 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 Sayyid al-Shuhada, Imam al-Insi wal-Jinna Hussein, Sayyid al-Shuhada, Imam al-Insi wal-Jinna Hussein, King of martyrs, oh Imam of man and jinn, Mawla Hussein. King of martyrs, oh Imam of man and jinn, Mawla Hussein. Sayyid al-Shuhada, Imam al-Insi wal-Jinna Hussein. Sayyid al-Shuhada, Imam al-Insi wal-Jinna Hussein. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.